Alrighty, y'all. Hello. I hope your weekend is going well. I have some fun videos planned, but I wanted to do really just a laid back, fun one. We're doing a tier list with European car brands. And, I've learned a lot more about these than I have, in the last few years or basically my whole life. And there's still some on here that I don't know a lot about. So take these ratings with a grain of salt. It's just for fun. And of course, tell me how your ratings would be different down below. So I found this list. Some of these brands are actually not strictly European. They might be available in Europe, in different countries to buy, of course, but they're not like European brands, if that makes sense. So I'm going to concentrate on mostly the actual European brands, like Hummer, right? We're not going to rate Hummer on here. If that makes sense. So let's just get straight into it. Of course, you got to let me know if you agree with these, or if one of these ratings piss you off. I understand. But let's go straight kind of alphabetical. So Alfa Romeo. Now, I'm familiar with them because we do have those here. Never owned one, of course. From what I've heard, they can be kind of hit or miss on reliability. Now, older ones are a different story, especially like European model ones. So I don't want to comment too much on those. I do really like what I've seen from them in motorsports, though. And I do like their designs. Whenever I see one in traffic here, they look spectacular. They're pretty much all their models, I feel like, are very attractive looking cars. They don't look cheap to me or anything like that. They look like a little bit of a higher end vehicle. So I'm going to go a solid B for Alfa Romeo. If you ask me, I think they're pretty cool. Now, Aston Martin, I got to put them at A tier, man. Aston Martin is awesome. Again, a lot of these cars, most of us, haven't owned all of these, of course. So, like I said, this is a very loose perspective, but Aston Martin has some amazing cars, dude. If we go back a few years, like the DB9 is still one of the coolest vehicles ever. Older Aston Martins, right? All the way back to the 60s, you think of the Bond cars and stuff. But then even like the 80s, some weird cars they had. The 90s Aston Martin, an Aston Martin Vantage from like 1998, I think is still an awesome car as well. And the newer ones just look so beautiful. I literally call them like the essence of a coupe or a coupe, right? Like, it's just the best looking design you could have for like a two-door sports car or touring car. They're just amazing. They're motorsports as well. They have an amazing sound coming from these V8s and the V12s. Yeah, A tier for sure. Audi. I have an Audi flag behind me. If you noticed, I have a whole video where I kind of put that up. I've become such a huge fan of them. I've always been a fan of them. Even not being an expert in a lot of European brands, out of the German famous brands, right, which are, of course, even ultra famous here in the US, I've always kind of gravitated towards Audi. So, yeah, Audi's going S tier for me, dude. They're rally cars, they're race cars, they're street cars. They're just gorgeous. They're awesome. They're mean. I don't know if they're the most reliable. I've heard some things about buying a used Audi from, 10 or 15 years ago. But you know what? We're willing to throw that away. They're cool. Okay. A lot of cool cars come with a little bit of an experience, even if that means, having deep pockets to maintain them. But you know what? We'll give a pass for Audi. Bentley, again, not a brand I'm familiar with. Haven't owned one. Don't think I ever will, right? It's not exactly a common car, but they're really cool. I do like their designs. Now, I personally don't like them quite as much as Aston Martin. So we'll go ahead and give Bentley a B. I mean, they're definitely a prestigious car. And if you had, if I had millions and millions and millions of dollars laying around, I suppose it'd be cool to try one out. BMW. Now, there's no hate here for BMW. I don't hate BMW at all. I just don't really like them for some reason. Out of the German car manufacturers, don't get me wrong, there's some really iconic BMWs. I mean, if you go back a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago or so, I was literally drooling over a BMW M1 Pro car. Don't get me wrong, they have some amazing vehicles over the years and some incredible motorsport offerings and everything, right? I'm well aware of some of the ultra impressive BMW offerings in like past Formula One seasons and stuff. So it's just for some reason, if I relate it to road cars, it's a car that I just have never been into. Like I haven't really been into like, oh, I want to own a BMW. I do want to own an Audi, for example. I just don't feel that way for BMW. I hate to do this, guys. I'm going to put this at C. I hope that doesn't make people too mad. They make great cars and all that stuff. It's just, something about the design and you know, just different things for different folks, right? Like people are into different things. I'm just not into BMWs a lot. Bugatti, I mean, just because the status, right? I think some older Bugattis, I think it's like I want to say it's 30s, like the Bugatti Type 57 SC or whatever it's called. I might be slightly wrong on the name, but that's one of the most gorgeous cars I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, classic and new Bugatti is just incredible. I think you got to put them in S tier. I feel like that's a no-brainer. You know, they are one of the golden standards of making exotic cars and making fast cars, right? You can't ignore the records and the statistics with Bugatti. I'm going to skip Chevrolet and Chrysler because this is, you know, a European tier list for me. So, like, you know, they're not European at all to me. But we do have Citroen next. And you know what? They have been the biggest surprise of this channel. I did not know a thing about them as of like a year or two ago. But when I started learning about them, and I'm still learning a lot, by the way, they're just unbelievably fascinating. In my opinion, you know, without being scientific about it, I feel like they're like the most unique car company. They are not afraid to make their own way of doing things. Their cars have fascinating features and technology and just kind of thoughtful engineering. I really love Citroen. I'm going to put them in S tier, dude. They are an iconic car company. Cupra, I know nothing about. I've heard they're on my list of brands to learn about. I've only seen a couple pictures of some of their cars. They look pretty cool, so I'm going to go ahead and put them at B. That could, you know, change later on, but they seem pretty cool. Dacia, I didn't know anything about either until about a year ago, or maybe even sooner than that, probably like 6 months ago, actually. I have a video or two learning about them. They're really, really awesome. I think I love basic, simple cars, and in this day and age where everything is like overinflated, overpriced, and cars are pretty, you know, a lot of car makers are in a weird spot with design and technology and, you know, EV obsession and stuff. I think the simplicity of Dacia is kind of like old school, simple cars, and they're still kind of cool looking. And, you know, it's a good blend of like modern, but it's a simple car. I like that about them. The Romanian, which is weird to me because I didn't even know about any major Romanian companies. You know, there's just a lot of cool quirkiness of Dacia. I'm going to put them at A tier. It might be funny to some people, but I think they're cool, dude. We're going to skip Daihatsu. Ferrari, I mean, look, there's some impressive Ferraris. They've also been a weird company. I know they can be a pain to work with, I guess, or they're like weird with social media. They try and like sue people. I don't know if all that's true or what. They're definitely like, let's call them not the most user-friendly car from what I've seen, just, you know, based on their reputation and stuff. But it's hard to deny that they make some impressive vehicles. And of course, I can't forget one of my favorite vehicles of all time. I guess if you could say a dream vehicle, which how could you narrow that down? There's probably 100 dream cars I could come up with, right? But the F40 is literally, as cliche as that sounds, is just one of the most craziest raw cars I've ever seen and heard ever. The thing looks amazing. It sounds even better. I have a video looking at an F1 driver. I think it was like a French F1 driver driving an F40 LM on a track and it's like an old video from like the early 90s, and it's so cool. It's one of the most exhilarating things I've ever seen. So I got to put them at A tier. I mean, Ferrari is still legendary. Fiat, look, I know they're very popular. They're definitely world famous. They've sold millions of vehicles. They're definitely an important brand. And you know what? Quite frankly, the old Fiats are pretty cool. I saw that recent European car show I went to. I mean, they're definitely cool. They're not like my perfect match, though, right? They're small, and it's just kind of bizarre to me, right? It's not like a car culture I really grew up with. So I'm going to put them at C tier. Nothing against Fiat. I think they're pretty cool, but they just, you know, not up here with like Audi and stuff to me. So C it is. Ford, I'll do. And with this, think of Ford of Europe, right? So this isn't Ford that I'm used to here. You know, Ford F-150s and Raptors and Broncos and Ford Mustangs. We're not talking about those. We're talking about Ford of Europe. And, you know, I'm still learning about the extensive history of like Ford of Europe throughout the different decades and stuff. But some of the rally cars and older Fords I've seen that came out of different places throughout Europe are really, really cool. I'm definitely going to put them at A tier, man. I think Ford of Europe, a lot of the older Fords I've learned about are hella cool, really interesting, and quite different to the Fords we got here. We're going to skip a lot of these, although we have Jaguar right here. And I do love Jaguars. They're pretty cool. I think they have an amazing designs. I'm going to put them at B. They're solid, man. I like them. Very iconic cars. You have some cars with some big engines. Then you have some freaky, almost like hypercars that were ahead of their time, like the Jaguar XJ220, or I think it was called something like that. Yeah, definitely a cool company. We're going to skip a lot of these, but we're going to go with Koenigsegg next. And is this invisible? I think it is. It disappeared. Oh my God, it is. It's up here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to put Koenigsegg at S tier, man. They're awesome. They're durable. Like the fact that they make these supercars that are like ultra fast and exotic looking, and they're also like they do durability testing like to the extreme, like we saw a few months ago on video. Yeah, Koenigsegg is just cool. Lamborghini, the classic rivalry, right? I don't think of it as a rivalry. I know like, Lamborghini versus Ferrari is like a thing, right? But honestly, they're both really cool. Lamborghini is definitely more user-friendly, I guess you could say, right? As a buying experience from what I've heard, and they make a lot of cool cars. They're great on the road. They're great on the track. It's just a legendary company. Amazing sounds. Definitely, do I put them in S tier, though? Or do I put them in A tier? I'm going to choose to put them at A tier. And that's a very strong A tier. I don't know. Maybe I'll regret that, but you can tell me if you disagree with that. We have Lancia or Lancia, right? I'm not sure what the proper, I always hear both ways. I'm going to go with Lancia. Lancia, very cool company. Again, not very present here in the U.S. at all. But I tell you what, if we're talking about motorsports, they are amazing. Got to put them in A tier. I think they're really cool. If we talk about their road cars, I'm not sure what they make anymore. I don't know if they're as big or as famous as they once were, but Land Rover, much respect for them. I have seen how capable they are in some recent videos from like a month or two ago. Definitely exceeded my expectations as growing up as like a big Jeep guy, right? But, I haven't owned one before. I'd be interested to drive like an older Defender. Some of their emergency vehicles they've used with Land Rovers and stuff are really cool. Definitely going to put them at B tier. Lotus, I don't know much about, but we have them here in the U.S., and I do see them every once in a while. They seem pretty cool. Solid B tier for sure. Maserati, again, really cool. Cars, they're nice looking. They sound great. A lot of them have Ferrari engines or whatever, right? They just don't do much for me personally. I'm going to put them at C tier. I hate to do that, but I know they're really cool. No hate for Maserati. I mean, keep in mind, I haven't even put anyone way down here at D, or this is supposed to be F tier. I don't know why that's there. Hopefully, maybe I'm too nice. I don't know if anyone will even end up down there. This, I don't know what logo this is, so I'm going to skip it. I do apologize. Mazda, I'm not going to do. Mercedes, of course, we're going to do. So Mercedes, very cool company. I am an Audi fan. Out of the German ones, the best. But I will put Mercedes at A tier just because they make so many things and they have amazing history, right? We're talking about the Unimog, Mercedes, like big trucks and stuff are freaking awesome. Of course, they make sports cars, luxury cars, everything. They're just kind of a huge company, and I respect that, right? So you got to put them at A tier. I think they're very beneficial to the world as a whole. It's been a very important company. I mean, it kind of literally all started with them. McLaren, really cool company, both in road cars and motorsport. Lots of collaborations, lots of awesome race cars. Definitely A tier for sure. MG, I don't know anything about. From what I've seen of them, I don't really like them, but I don't know enough about them. So take this with a big grain of salt. I'm going to put them at D tier. From what I've seen, I don't really like them, but I'm not trying to be harsh. I don't hate them or anything. There's not much there that I've seen that wows me. Mini, very cool cars. I'm going to put them at B tier. There's a lot you can do with minis. They're pretty fast. They're really fun. They're really agile. And both old and new, I think, minis have a lot of different appeal. So yeah, definitely a cool brand. We're going to skip all the Japanese ones. Opel. Now, Opel seems pretty cool. They have a lot of connections to U.S. cars as well, just because a lot of U.S. brands under GM has shared a lot or basically rebadged Opels. So, I have a little bit of experience, I guess, sort of with them, and then I learned a lot about them recently. We'll call them C tier. They have a lot of good cars, a lot of kind of boring cars, because they're just a big company that makes a lot of normal cars. So Pagani, again, I haven't learned a lot about them, but I know enough, right? They make extremely exotic cars. A lot of them have like Mercedes power plants, like a V12, right? They're definitely cool. I think you got to put them at A tier. Peugeot, you know what? This is going to be shocking. I'm putting Peugeot at S tier, man. I have really liked what I've seen from them. I'm still learning. They're a huge company with a lot of history, but I would love to go out right now and take a ride to run an errand and drive a manual transmission Peugeot hatchback. 100%. S tier. I like them a lot. Porsche, got to put them at S tier as well. I like Porsche, man. I like Audi the best, but Porsche is a close second. They're just iconic, man. Super iconic. They make amazing looking cars. Whenever I see them in person, I forget how good they look. Like, they do look good no matter what, in video games, on TV, or whatever. But when I see them in person, you know, there's a Porsche dealer pretty close by. Actually, I always see it because we have a Subaru, and so when we get our Subaru, you know, serviced or the oil change or whatever at the dealer, the Subaru dealer is a joint dealer between, it's like a big dealership, and literally on one side it's Subaru and on the other side it's Porsche. So it's like a joint dealership, Subaru, Porsche. And so I see them all the time. I go look, you know, while I have a few minutes in there. And yeah, the Porsches just look gorgeous, dude. They're really, really cool cars, especially in person. I'm just going to ignore the Land Rover Range Rover because that's kind of like part of the same brand. Although I know now like Range Rover Sports are a lot different than like a Land Rover Defender. But to me, they're in the same level. So I would just rate them the same anyway. Renault. Now, they are part of the French automakers as well. They also make some pretty cool Euro trucks. I have nothing against them. I don't gravitate towards them as much as I do with like Citroën and Peugeot. So I guess I'm going to put them at C, but I don't have a problem with Renault. I also have to learn more about them. They do make some cool stuff. Rolls-Royce, you know, I'm not a fan of these. I love how impressive they are. I know they're like extremely prestigious, expensive, and like stand apart from most manufacturers. I know they have like a bunch of like rare materials and wood and handmade pieces everywhere. Like trust me, they're cool. I know they're like amazing build quality. I'm gonna put them at D tier just because they're not a car I'm into. Even if I had the money, I just wouldn't want to own one. They don't appeal to me, but I respect them. Saab, they're so cool. Of course, they share the Scania logo. How cool is that? I'm gonna put them at C tier. I didn't know much about them, but I think they are pretty cool. I do see them periodically here in the US, and yeah, they're sharp. They don't stand out to me as like awesome, but they're not, you know, lame either. They're definitely cool cars, and I'd probably like them better if I drove one. Seat, this is on my list to learn about, so I'm going to put it at C to be safe. That, like I said, from what I've seen, they look sharp, but I don't know much about them, so I'm just going to put them at C. Skoda, I freaking love Skoda. I'm going to put Skoda at A tier. S tier would be pretty crazy, although I kind of want to. I'm going to put it at like top of A tier, if that makes sense. I love Skoda. They're freaking cool, dude. Smart cars, F tier. There, we found one. I'm sorry, everyone that loves smart cars. They're actually kind of impressive for what they are. They're just not what I'm into, man. Getting down to the last two giants. Volvo, very cool brand. I respect the technology, the safety, engineering. They make some actually really cool sporty cars and some super reliable cars. I've come to really like them. I'm putting them at A tier, man. I have videos where I see like these old Volvo bricks, right? These old V70s and stuff, these old wagons from the 80s and 90s, just taking a beating. These things are awesome. We also saw a guy, even in the US, that had 1 million miles on his Volvo, and I guess Volvo like gave him a new car or whatever. Yeah, cool brand. And Volkswagen, they're a very important brand, right? When it comes to importance, they got to be up there. They're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, car manufacturer in the world. So many brands are under them, right? Like they're just, and they have some iconic cars. So I'm going to put them at a very strong B tier. I do like VW. So yeah, if you ignore some of these, which weren't really relevant for me in this video, there is a look at the whole tier list. I'm covering up Audi there, but you can get a whole look there. How does this rank for you? I would love to know. I think that was just kind of a fun one, man. We haven't done a video like this in a while, but sometimes those are fun, right? Like just talking about the brands, kind of rating them. And this could always change, right? So I will like save this and see how maybe in a few months, if I learn about more of these or whatever, it'd be interesting to see if it would change. But I would love to hear what you agree with in this list and what you totally disagree with, where you're yelling at your screen like, Ian, what the hell are you talking about? Please tell me about it. I would love to hear about that. I think this was pretty fun though. Anyway, I hope you're having an awesome weekend. I do appreciate you being here. And that's going to be it for this one. Leave some ideas for any of these that you would like to see in the future, or perhaps maybe we could do some of these live and we could all kind of do them together. That might be chaotic, but it also might be fun. I don't know. You got to let me know. That being said, y'all, my name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.